Hey, GM, everyone.
Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today?
Doing very, very well. Logging in from Asia. Have you guys been to a Korean Blockchain Week or going to Token 2049 in Singapore?
This has been the most common question I've been asked this week. It feels like everybody's going to 2049.
Hey,
I'm missing out. But my answer, it's like at this point, copy paste. Our cryptographer will be attending. He'll be giving a talk at Encrypt. So if you want to catch him, and hell yeah. And if you want to learn more a little bit about biometrics and how we're using eigenlayer to create human keys, he's the man to talk to.
hey, all right. Thanks for the alpha. That's great. And yeah, I love this asking this classic question because it's like a great way for everyone to connect. And then like when we see each other in real life, it's like, hey, we've met each other here before. So yeah, that's what this is all about. And one more second as we bring up the next featured speaker. In the meantime, how is your guys' week going?
Absolutely great, especially now that we're here. Funny enough, this is the second Twitter space of the week. I feel like finally kind of getting my flow uh, on this platform. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. I love Twitter Spaces for the same reason, and we're very happy to have you here. And I am looking for our other speaker. If you're here, please send a request, and we'll get started very, very shortly. Also, so the theme of today's Twitter Space is cyber resistance and airdrops, which I think is a huge topic for us to talk about right now, and it's the perfect time to learn about like cyber attack and safety and issues and how we're solving these issues. Let's go.
Oh, there he is. He's moving on up.
Hey,
Hi, GM, Nanak.
GM. How you doing?
Very, very good. Very excited to start. How about you? How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Also excited to start.
All right, so let's welcome you guys very, very warmly, and we'd love to hear an intro of like both the projects, Zeronym and Holonym, and also about like a bit about you guys and your guys' story. So yeah, the space is all yours.
Incredible. Well, thanks for having us here. You guys have been an incredible partner and really meticulous about curating the most immaculate vibes. Um, really excited to be here supporting you guys, Sign Protocol, and thanks for the platform to kind of share what we're working on a little bit. So we're Holonym Foundation. Nanak and I are two of the co-founders. Holonym Foundation is basically, it's an organization with the mission of proliferating this novel technology that we've developed called human keys. And we think it's probably going to be a very big thing. It's probably nothing really. But once the rest of the web catches on, we'll find that it's the best way to scale all of the benefits of cryptography applied to consumer digital tools without sacrificing or making huge sacrifices on security, privacy, and usability. So the foundation has three products. The first is Mishti Network, which lets you derive human keys from human attributes instead of randomness like you typically do with private keys. Mishti is pretty cool because it uses the security mechanisms of proof of stake with Ethereum on eigenlayer to secure human key derivation. And this is something that's pretty novel, hasn't been done before. Zeronym is what we're most known for, and which is in the audience today, and how we work together with Sign Protocol. And that uses human keys to make proofs on identity, or really with any wallet, so that you can achieve Sybil resistance and prove that a person is a unique individual person. We can talk more about that as we dive in. And the very last product, that one that we're super stoked about and we think is going to be a huge deal, is Silk. Silk is our elegant user interface, expressive design language for using human keys all over the web. It's pretty much an embeddable wallet that lets you derive keys using Mishti Network or inject other wallets if you need to use them. And you can also use Zeronym, produce identity proofs, interact with dApps, claim airdrops, etc. through Silk. So that's the down low. Really excited to share this stuff with you guys today. Definitely give these accounts a follow if you'd like to learn more about incentives and campaigns we have for the community.
All right, thank you for sharing, Sheik. Is that how you pronounce your name?
You can call me Shake.
Or wait, could you pronounce your name again? I want to get it right.
You can actually just call me Shady. That's my first name.
Shadi. All right, Shadi. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I love that you mentioned that we have the vibes because that's what we operate on. And I love that you said like probably nothing, meaning like it's gonna be probably something huge. So congrats on like the novel tech of human keys and learning about the scaling the benefits of cryptography. And I love the idea of not sacrificing the privacy or usability, which is a huge problem in the space. So it's great that you guys are focusing on that. And yeah, so shout out to all of your projects, Misty Network, Zeronym, and Silk. So we got private keys that are not random with security of proof of stake, and Zeronym human keys to make proofs on identity and proving that the person is unique. And that's a huge problem now, especially with like the new upcoming chain of like Ton and all the new meme coins and like an entirely new era of airdrop farmers, and it's getting more challenging to distinguish like who is a real community member and who is a bot that's just trying to take airdrops. So like us, we're like we one of our biggest projects is token table and airdrop distribution system. So we like very much closely relate to that of the idea that like proving someone's real identity is very crucial to not only the project but to the space. So yeah, like thank you guys for what you're doing, and also very much looking forward to new progress on Silk user interface that design that has the language to use human keys, which is amazing. So yeah, thank you for the intro. All right, now passing the microphone to Nanak.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Nanak. I'm a co-founder of Holonym. Shady and I started Holonym. It actually started as a science-related hackathon project. We were both doing computational neuroscience, surprisingly, at Georgetown, and we were working on a hackathon to bring data on IPFS. We started, just building stuff together and talking about, he Web3 pilled me. And eventually we realized there's a big problem bringing reputation on chain because we want to do this for science-related use cases. There are other use cases for projects we were working on that all need identity on chain, as I'm sure like y'all are familiar with at Sign Protocol that you often do need some sort of reputation on chain, but it can sometimes be challenging to do the same way we do in Web 2, where we have email accounts, we have the sensitive data that we're just sharing with one server, because now we're putting it on a public blockchain where everybody can see. So it really limits the use cases you can do, unless you can somehow find a way to figure out privacy on chain. So that's how we got started. And we started working with folks like our first client actually was Andrew Yang's DAO. So Andrew Yang, the U.S. presidential candidate, a while ago, he did campaign financing using NFTs, which was really novel, but also had some novel challenges, like how do you prove people are a U.S. resident on chain? So this was our first sort of flagship use case of zk technology to enable use cases on chain and with civic infrastructure. And so then later on, when we started focusing a lot on proof of personhood, using zk to prove you are a unique person. This is useful for use cases like voting with privacy, for airdrops, and this is a big part of our partnership with Sign Protocol, this proof of personhood. And then we also started looking at use cases like the one Shadi mentioned for ZK beyond just proving government ID, but also starting the human key technology and using this for wallets, for biometrics, etc.
All right, thank you for sharing. And wow, that is a very unique beginning to the project, and I am personally a fan of that as well, because in Web3 things are always changing, and like some great ideas start with one and then blossoms into something that's huge. So like shout out to that. And the Yang Gang DAO, okay, that's very, very interesting. And I like that like you guys started as the science related hackathon and really saw a problem of having someone's reputation on chain and needing the solution where you need to identify, you need to like secure the identity of that person, but also let them have privacy. So that is an extremely important issue and a very significant one to balance. And it seems like you guys are doing a really good job in finding that balance. And ZK is definitely very important for that. And the use cases, it seems like it's like growing, and yeah, like this could solve a lot of problems. So yeah, thank you guys so much for the introduction. And also I saw that Aaron has also joined. If you also want to like say hi or give an introduction, let me know.
Yeah, so Arun here, part of the Holonyms team. I write content, also do some BD stuff. Yeah, Sybil resistant airdrops is very interesting. Me and Shady have actually co-written an article as well, so we kind of dig deep into airdrops a lot. So really excited about this whole aim.
Oh, cool. By the way, I have a joke for you guys. Do you guys want to hear it?
Of course.
Just a little fun between the transitions. So the joke is, why did the zero knowledge proof go to therapy?
Ooh, okay, that's a good one. Why did zero proof knowledge go to therapy? I feel like it's like a play on words, like something that's kind of punny, and also something that's related to psychology, maybe, but also something that has to do, to find itself without finding itself. Or, okay, I'm handing the mic to you.
Does anyone else want to give a guess, Nanak?
No, I do not.
Well, you know the most about ZK proof, so I'm a little disappointed.
It cannot reveal anything to anyone.
Oh, ding, ding, ding! Yes, it's a terrible joke. It's a terrible joke. But the zero knowledge proof had to go to therapy because it had too many secrets and just couldn't open up.
Nice. I had commitment issues.
Oh, yeah, so it sounds like 0K ZK has an avoidant personality, keeps things to themselves and does not open up. Good one. I love that. Like you guys started off with that with a joke, and it's a perfect segue like to our next topic. So I know that we all kind of touched on like the importance of ZK and human keys and like balancing identity with privacy on chain. And for those who are not very familiar, and since the topic is like Sybil resistance and airdrops, do we want to start off by defining what a Sybil attack is and its main issues? Okay, floor is open completely.
Sure. So a Sybil attack is an attack where you make a bunch of fake accounts. A lot of times there are systems where you want to ensure that everybody's rewarded equally. So let's say in voting, you want to make sure that one person corresponds to one vote. One person can't have 10 votes. And then you have other situations similarly with like airdrops. You want to make sure that each airdrop goes to one person. One person can't get like 100,000 airdrops and take it from somebody else. Similar with quadratic funding. Let's say you want to, quadratic funding is like a novel funding mechanism that aims to be more democratic by making more funding go to projects with more votes instead of more money. So it takes away the idea of $1, one vote for funding, for funding pools, and makes it more into one, one person, or a nice combination, nice blend of dollars and people. So dollars do matter, but democracy also matters. So there are lots of use cases, lots of very interesting voting and consensus mechanisms, like even blockchain consensus has this requirement of, but blockchain just does it by saying, okay, $1, one crypto equals one vote in consensus. Right, so you see this almost everywhere, not just in Web3, also in Web2. Like voting in Web2 definitely happens that way. Even like non-Web stuff, like voting's still there. But there's a huge issue of how do you actually enforce this? Because if you can't enforce this, then all these systems that rely on one person, one X, are vulnerable and can't really be useful. So you need some sort of system to say, okay, each person can only have one vote, and to do this, you need a good proof of personhood. So this has been the big challenge in civil resistance. And there's always been a trade-off between civil resistance, decentralization, and privacy. It's like you can have like one or two, but you certainly can't have all three. Easiest thing, you could just verify someone's ID, but then you've lost privacy and decentralization. So then you verify it with ZK, and then you also have the privacy, and you have at least some level of decentralization depending on how you do it. So this is, how we think about it. There are all sorts of methods to perform civil resistance. We don't think that government IDs are the best for all use cases. We think they're the best for some use cases. And there's a place for all sorts of types of civil resistance. Depending on how much rigor you want, how much security you want, how much privacy you want, how much decentralization you want.
Thank you for sharing. This was very, very nicely said. And so, for everyone out there, a cyber attack is when someone makes fake accounts and they're not sure if everyone has the equal parts, which is very important because, like, inherently, blockchain does give people that sense of privacy where everyone has their own wallet. That wallet is anonymous. And, like, whether it's in Web 2 or Web 3, it is common that when there are access available for people to have more votes or more stake with more wallets, then people are more likely to either like create more wallets themselves or use bots, and that could throw off the proportion of people's power, whether that's like voting power or funding, and for like airdrops, which is something that's very important in this space. And I like that you said that you're aiming to be more democratic in the sense that everyone has an equal share of power. And thank you for sharing the new word for people who don't know yet of quadratic funding, which is a novel funding that aims to be more democratic, to make funding go to more projects with more votes instead of more money, which is very important because even in like Web 2 politics, it's almost like more money equals more power. And like blockchain and decentralization could give more people that like fair voting power, which is great. And then like back to the idea that like there's an inherent privacy in one's blockchain persona, then it's relatively easy for someone to take advantage of that privacy. And the solution to that, which I totally agree, is the proof of personhood for everyone that gets a stake to be proven that they are one person. And that's very important. And that's where ZK proof comes in, where they have enough privacy that all their information is not out there, but it is known that they are one person and they have their own fair share of votes. All right, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then I think that also touched on to the second question of like defining cyber resistance and its significance. So I'm assuming that the cyber resistance is the solution to cyber attacks. So also opening the floor on this topic as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know, the airdrop community, the airdrop hunting community, I would say it's pretty united in their distaste and overall just revulsion towards industrial Sybil farms. So these are organizations that can sometimes span countries. They could be, completely digitally coordinated, and they might be using, like, for example, like entire like what we call like Sybil farms, where they might have a facility with people working there with phones all wired up and controlled by say like a single computer. I know there's a tweet out there that shows a video of one of these farms, and it's kind of like, it looks like something out of Cyberpunk, the, what is it, 2077, the video game, something like that. And these projects kind of really sour the game for everybody else who is looking to participate and be engaged in Web3. Incentives are a huge part of it, right? So ownership within the network, being able to contribute, make sure your voice is heard. These ideas of pluralism and utilitarianism around the technology. But when an industrial Sybil attacker comes in, they can scoop up a huge portion of the actual airdrop. And so this means that if, say, the airdrop is like 100 of token X to everybody, uh, an industrial farmer can come in and scoop up 20% of that. And in the end, maybe users end up getting, a significantly less portion of that, right? Like 50 of that token, or 70 of that token, or 80 of that token. depending on how much they scooped up. So it's really important, I think, the community recognizes that to combat this, we need to be able to prove that we are unique individuals, that we're not bots, that we're not exploiters, and that we're all in this together. Now, on one side, I think like Sybil attacks really aren't an individual with one or two or even like, let's say 10 burner wallets. That's nowhere near as big of a deal as say like somebody with thousands or even tens of thousands of accounts that are doing anything they can to prove that they're a real person, like creating fake GitHub accounts with fake commits and fake pull requests, to creating fake social media accounts that are scripted engagement and all of that. And now we have LLMs on the scene, things like ChatGPT, which in some cases can pass a cursory Turing test and make it really seem like these are real people. So the community realizes we need to figure out how to prove our humanity. And we have a couple options for this, right? Keeping in mind what Nanak said around privacy, security, and decentralization. Um, we can prove based off of our web accounts, right? But then again, these are pretty weak. We can prove by taking a video of ourselves, like for example, using proof of what is it, Humanity Protocol or Bright ID, where we take a video and like of ourselves reading a poem or something to show that it's real. But somebody's going to have to look at that video and know that it's you, and you'll have to trust that video is stored responsibly and never leaked. Or you can do something like with WorldCoin. You can go to an orb, you can put the orb to your face and scan the unique patterns of your iris to create a unique identifier that WorldCoin is responsible for storing and keeping secure to generate a proof that you can attach to a pseudonymous wallet on chain. That's pretty cool too, but it does have some problems as well. And then the last option is you could do some form of KYC where you can prove legal personhood. So if you have a government ID, you can prove that that government ID was issued to a single person and that it is that person holding that ID. So that has a little bit more accessibility, and we can do a little bit more for privacy with this, which is why we're focusing specifically on government ID, Sybil resistance. I'll pause there before explaining kind of exactly what these are.
All right, all right. Thank you, Shady, for sharing this. And this is very eye-opening to hear that there are videos out there of those cyber farms where, like as you said, it's not just 1 to 10 burner wallets, but actually thousands or even tens of thousands. And it's almost like a Black Mirror episode, imagining like all these people in one room with all these phones or tech and just generating huge amounts of stake. And like when you said the 20%, like that is actually huge, whether it's from like a meme coin perspective or like any share perspective or any votes. And that is indeed a huge problem. I remember seeing a meme of like right like when iPhone really started taking off a while ago, also exposing my age, but there were videos of people holding like tens of phones, just downloading an app and deleting it and downloading it just to juice up that number. And at that time, it was like, whoa. But now there's like much graver consequences when there are people trying to pass off as a huge amount of people when it comes to like voting or airdrops. And it's also assumed that like those types of things have like very malicious intents. They get the airdrop and they dump it on everyone. Or if they all have a shared agenda and they all vote on one topic, then that's like very like that could be very disruptive. And so you also mentioned that there are current ways to prove, but a lot of them have issues. So you mentioned that like if you send a video of yourself, then it does kind of prove that you are human. Not kind of, it does prove that you're human, but it also takes a lot of trust from that person's side to take that video and trust that that video of them is not going to be exploited or not going to be shared. And like with WorldCoin, it is fair that people could go and scan their iris, but it also takes a lot of effort and a lot of resources, and not everyone has the equal share to that. And this is also like a perfect segue to the next question of how we're solving this problem. So like ZK proof, for those who are not very familiar with that topic, like the general gist is that there is a way to prove something and have that proof not be stored, where it's like zero knowledge proof. And like that's like the very, very general Wikipedia answer to that. So the next question is, could you guys talk a bit more about the concept of ZK proof and how you guys are using it to solve that problem?
So ZK proof essentially means proving something without revealing the underlying data. So, for example, you have a government ID and you prove that you're over 18 without revealing your age, your name, which country you're from, stuff like that. So now ZK can mean a lot of things. Now it's started to mean a lot about scaling as well, compressing transactions. But for the sake of this discussion, I think we can focus on like the original meaning of ZK, which is really this sense of privacy. Like you can prove anything, and the cool thing about ZK proofs is you can prove anything. There's some types of ZK proofs that are specific to certain things you want to prove, but there are also ones that can just take any sort of computation. You do the whole computation on your input, but you don't show your input. You just show the output. You say, look, I know some input that results in this output. In other words, I know I have this government ID. You don't have to show it, but if you put it to this function which verifies the government ID and says if I'm over 18, that function says yes. So that's sort of the beauty of ZK, that you can do any computation, show the output without revealing the input. And you can imagine it has a lot of use cases everywhere.
For sure, for sure. That is a very great explanation. So, as Nanak said, it is a way to prove something without revealing the underlying data. And I really like the way that you gave like a very simple yet very powerful example of if you need to prove your age and you have a government ID, you are able to prove that you are a certain age, but it doesn't reveal like where your passport is from or your specific other information. And in this case, like the sense of privacy that it can give, I'm sure it has a lot of real use cases. Even the example of like in Web 2, if someone goes to a bar and they want to prove the fact that they are over 21, but they don't want the bartender to know their legal age and their physical address, then this would be like a case where the ZK proof could show that they are indeed over a certain age, but it doesn't show their legal address or their legal name, which also, like going back to Web 3, is very important because people value their privacy. So yeah, thank you for sharing about that. And I think now we could like move on to like the core of like what you guys are building, whether it's like short-term or long-term vision and goals, and the importance of ZK proof in this process.
Yeah, so in our short-term goals, we really have been focusing on the use case of on-chain reputation. But really in the long term, we see this sort of stuff as just helping security in general across the web, not even Web3. Like, to think about ZK use cases, data breaches are huge, right? Like, how many sites have you entered your social security number if you're from the US, or if you're not, your government ID? Uh, you know, Probably at least 10, 20 sites. And then what are the chances that none of them ever get hacked, right? Like, pretty slim. So it's a huge issue that all of our data, it happens all the time, right? Like recently in the U.S., practically everybody's social security number was just breached. In India, like a year ago, similar situation with the Aadhaar, and universally we have this system of trust with centralized servers where we're trusting them with our information. And so we see this as one of the major use cases of identity from Web3, with ZK and advanced cryptographic technology. Now, another use case that we're really interested in is, in the more medium and long term, is onboarding people, like finding actual use cases of cryptography and even Web3, outside our bubble. So right now, I think there's been a big push to get people to log in with like Twitter and Google accounts, which is good in many ways. Like it's, getting Web3 to the masses to some extent. But then, the issue is it's centralized again. If a single Google account controls all your funds, then it's not Web3. So we think there's another really good use case of identity primitives to include, to improve the safety and decentralization, so there's no single point of failure there. And that's the way we're really going to get everybody in Web3. We're going to, one, show them like more use cases of preventing data breaches, and two, make it so they can actually use it easily without having to fall back on centralized custodians.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that. And you gave a really good example about like social security number, which is something that's like huge, that like one person has one of each. And hypothetically, if it is hacked or maliciously manipulated, could have grave consequences. So to paraphrase Nanak's, or to summarize, the short-term goal is to for use cases of on-chain reputation, and for the long term, and I like that you said that it's to help security in general across the web, which is not just limited to Web3, which I agree, because the web itself is very like prone to hacking, and the privacy and security is extremely important. And data breaches, I'm sure that a lot of people like would randomly get emails saying like, oh, like this website was compromised, please change your email or change your password immediately, and the consequences are huge. Like for an example, in a few countries, some country residency cards have like that ID number, and everyone has their own ID number, and that number could actually be used to go to a bank to borrow money. So say that if someone's ID number in a certain country is compromised, then the person that compromised it could physically go to the bank with that ID number and borrow money, and that debt would be to the person whose ID number was stolen. So that is like a very great like real world problem that you guys are trying to solve, which is great. And I also like the way that you mentioned that another like long-term use case, or a very broad use case, is to onboard people and have a use for cryptography, because I think that although Web3 is growing, there are a lot of people who are unsure about Web3 or haven't like used Web3 in a very intimate sense. And in terms of onboarding, this is a very great case that everyone, whether in Web3 or Web2, would understand the importance of privacy, and the importance that for a certain like in certain cases they need to upload their information, but it also takes a lot of trust in not only the project or the company that they're uploading it on, but to know that they won't get hacked, which is always a security risk. And I like the idea that you're talking about using cryptography in this case for security, for onboarding people. And you gave the example of the Google account login, which like I agree, it's great in the sense that people could use one account to log into everything, but it's also very centralized. If Google controls like someone's bank account and personal information, then if any parts of this is compromised, then a lot of things would be compromised. And then, if we look at the third pinned post from Sign, we are also very interested in this topic. So Vitalik a while ago made a tweet about the importance of not only just privacy and against people farming maliciously. And he also mentioned, so I'll read the tweet very quickly. Like he said, airdrops are fascinating initial use case for ZK blockchain based identity / credential. And he mentioned that the goal of, like in this case, the example is an airdrop, is that it should be distributed to community members and not just randos who immediately sell, and reward contributors to the project, and be reasonably egalitarian, and resist the extractive / adversarial farming. So what you guys are doing, and also including what Sign is doing, is to solve these problems and to make sure that while we have like that mass onboarding, which in our case we're more focused towards airdrop distribution systems, to, for example, on Telegram has Ton, and that has an onboarding of a lot of people who use Telegram would have that wallet that's native to them, and it's almost like an automatic onboarding way that like they don't have to create wallet codes, they don't have to understand seed phrases and everything. But the same accessibility for mass onboarding creates a problem of vulnerability towards that airdrop farming and malicious botting. And to kind of introduce Sign, so Sign itself is the goal is to sign all information on chain, and one of our main products is called Token Table. So we're an airdrop distribution system that actually focuses on the questions and the problems that we're discussing. So we have attestation gated airdrops, which means that we distribute the airdrops based on KYC, which is one of like the solutions or one of the ways to combat the malicious botting system. And we have vesting schedules, meaning that the tokens could be distributed and unlocked over a period of time. So it's not like bots getting airdrops and selling and nuking completely. And then, yeah, so I think that was like a perfect way to connect what you guys are doing with what we're doing. Like we're on the same page when it comes to the importance of having a very fair and a very relatively transparent system while ensuring other people have privacy. So it's great that we're having this discussion on ZK and the real life examples, whether it's like mass onboarding or Web 2 or Web 3, whether it's specific things like airdrop or general things like general security. So yeah, that's great that like all of this ties together. And yeah, so based on that, like I'm opening the floor again for any other like comments or thoughts. Like love to have like any discussions around these topics.
How does token table work? I'm really excited to hear the announcement there. How do you guys imagine getting it out to market, and how's it going to change how airdrops are done in the future?
Ooh, that's a great question. So, introducing Token Table, it is at its core a very, very tech advanced airdrop distribution system. So, like at its core fundamentals, it is a distribution system that allows any projects to distribute airdrops. So, we're omni-chain, works for all EVM compatible chains and Solana and Ton. And on problems that I mentioned, that Vitalik mentioned. So, in addition to just us being a product that distributes airdrops, we're really focused on the topics of privacy and fair airdrops. So, in terms of fair airdrops, we have ways to kind of like deter the malicious airdrop farming or the bots, or that you mentioned before, the Sybil farms, where we have the option for projects to gate their airdrops based on KYC. So that means projects could choose to only distribute airdrops to people that have completed their KYC, and we have the option for people um, to basically choose how long it is for everybody who gets the airdrop, how long they have it, and how long they sell it for. And we have other functions like NFT gated airdrops. And all of these goes on our main like sign protocol, which is signing everything on chain and attestation based airdrops. So with every information is stored in our attestations, and that could also solve the problem of like one person using multi like malicious links or lots of different accounts to farm airdrops maliciously. So like in conclusion, we are token airdrop distribution system, and it works on all chains, and we give the option to gate these airdrops based on attestations and like such as KYC, and we have this different schedules that could choose that could let the projects choose like who to give the airdrops to, how long they hold the airdrops, and like ways to deter the malicious types of farming.
Got it. Yeah, that's super comprehensive. Really interesting, actually. By any blockchain, do you mean non-EVM as well, or just any EVM blockchain?
So we have EVM and Solana and Ton. And like we have the tech to be expanding to more chains. And in terms of the existing chains, we're also focusing heavily on the mass onboarding. And we believe that mass distribution and mass onboarding are interconnected. So in this case, we're focusing on Ton. The fact that Ton is already automatically onboarding so many people who use Telegram into crypto and setting up wallets without seed phrases. And there's so many projects that's coming out, whether it's like tap to play games like Notcoin or Telegram native community like Dogs. We've done a lot of airdrops. I think for Dogs, there was 42 million accounts. And we did the airdrop distribution systems to more than I think 80% of them that are like that pass a lot of the tests, and we are able to distribute them all at the same time, fully automated. And so in general, we are focused, so we are trying to be available for all existing chains, and we have a current focus on Ton, and we have dogs, Notcoin, and a lot of upcoming projects. I will also pin from Token Table. So this is the Sign main account, and Token Table is our product. So I will pin a Token Table post on this stage as well.
Cool. Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, especially, I mean, like when you go from like say 50,000 or the 75,000 folks that claim say like the first Optimism airdrop, or the 100 something thousand that claim the first Uniswap airdrop, to like 40 million accounts. These are completely different scales, both from like technical and real world practical and legal use cases. I mean, when we talk about Sybil farms, we have to think about like who has the resources to really put these into action. And if the incentive is there, you could have organized crime or pariah states, like the nation that must not be named, um, participating. And so I think in the end, it becomes, like KYC becomes really important. And so one of the things we really care about at Holonym is you don't need to sacrifice privacy to have transparent accountability on chain. And this is why we've built and released a zero knowledge KYC service that allows us to keep the 99% of users and their data, their KYC data, private and encrypted, and generated using proofs generated on the client-side device. But in the event that a bad actor does infiltrate the airdrop or the community, we have ways for dApps to be able to programmatically disclose the identity of those malicious actors using smart contracts with specific disclosure rules written into them that are presented to the user at the time of consent when they're using the application. So this is what we call proof of clean hands. We think it'll have an incredible impact not only for tools like Token Table that might want to provide dApps for a way to protect against bad actors that might use privacy to take advantage of the protocol or the community. To, for example, DeFi protocols or privacy protocols that don't want to go down the same road as Tornado Cash with regulations. So we're super excited to be able to provide this technology stack to builders, developers, and to give consumers within the space some default protections when it comes to privacy.
Wow, that's very, very nicely said, Shady. And I thank you for like the shout out of like the comparison between the scales of like what we're doing, like over 40 million accounts compared to the previous airdrops. And I like the way that you mentioned this in the context of having practical and legal use cases. And it's almost like chilling to hear that with Sybil farms, it's the people who have the resources to put these into action, and it's like they're not playing around. And again, shout out to Holonym. So for all the viewers, so for Holonym, what I'm hearing is that the model is that you don't need to sacrifice your privacy to have transparency on chain, which is very, very powerful. And that is done with ZK so that the user's KYC data are private. And I like the name of proof of clean hands, of like in the case that a bad actor infiltrates, there are ways to disclose the identity of the malicious actors. Because it's like the joke of like everyone gangster until the mask falls off. So if people think they have complete privacy and they could like abuse the systems, then they would do horrible things. But if they know that like if they do horrible things and are caught, then their own like dirty laundry is aired out. That could be a very great like intrinsic and extrinsic deterrent against them being bad actors. And I like how like this is like the tech that you're providing for builders and projects to give that layer of security for the public, which is very great. Thank you for sharing. And I love this Twitter space. Like I myself am learning a lot, and it seems like we have so much in common. And yeah, like thank you guys so much. And I'm being mindful of the time. It is almost time. So now I'm opening space for you guys to say like any other information you want to share or any thoughts. Also open to other jokes as well. Ah, I wish I had one. Let me really think. But yeah, like on this topic, opening the floor for anything, any other thoughts or questions or ideas or inspiration or anything like that.
Cool. Yeah, I would just like to share a few things and make a few small announcements. On one side, we are running a points program for the Silk wallet. So every protocol, DApp, or developer that integrates Silk into their sign-in flow as an option or as a native option will be distributing basically points to that developer account for every user that creates an account and for all the points that the users themselves create while using Silk on that platform or across platforms. So it's a really great way to, for example, if you're onboarding a user with your DApp and they're creating a Silk account for the first time, you're able to obtain a good portion of the points that they might create by swapping, bridging, or even using other applications, which is kind of cool. And the second bit that I wanted to announce is do check out our Discord. You can go to holonym.id and scroll down to the bottom to find the social link for Discord. We do trivia night. ZK is it's a complicated topic, and we have a lot of work to educate the community so that we can all talk about it with the same level of proficiency and onboard all the normies out there and tell them why cryptography is important. So our fun way of doing this is kind of like some buzzer action Jeopardy style almost trivia questions every Sunday in the Holonym Discord, and there are cash prizes associated with that. So if you'd like to take a drop or take a break from airdrop hunting and compete with your zero knowledge, not to be redundant there, you can go ahead and join our Discord and yeah, give the trivia a try. There's also some fun personalities in there, and it gets pretty competitive.
Hey, I love that. And it's a very catchy zero knowledge. I like that you said that for the Silk wallet, you guys have a point program, which also like ties back to our previous topic about like on-chain reputation. And that could be a great motivator for whether it's like seasoned airdrop farmers who are genuine about their intentions with their own identity or like onboarding the normies. That's a very good idea. And like this is also like my thoughts on like onboarding, because if like a real normie comes into the space and they see like all these intimidating words like ZK proof or like even like airdrops, they're like, wait, what? Like on Apple iPhone when you share a photo? Like in terms of like normal normie onboarding, it could be great that it is great that you guys have like not only that education system but also like a fun Jeopardy style trivia where they have prizes. So yeah, like shout out to your guys' Discord. So for everyone, it's the Discord on Holonym ID. And from what I remember, it's every Sunday on the Holonym Discord. So yeah, everyone, please do check it out. And also, it's interesting that like I am also personally revealing some alpha that has not been shared before. Is that we are also like Sign. We're also cooking something huge, and we part of like the fun marketing aspect is that we will have open source memes available so people could learn about Sign as well as promote Sign and how we're doing it in a way that kind of also deters the malicious airdrop farming. Is that users in the very near future are able to make posts about Sign and link their Twitter to one of our websites, and their own reach and their own quality of the content could be converted to points, which will be rewarded upon in the future, in the relatively near future. So that's also like our way of kind of incentivizing the public, whether it's onboarding normies or getting the existing Web3 ecosystem hyped about us, is that we are doing something similar of letting them open source memes and letting them link their own Twitter, which like in a way it's almost like KYC, but without like revealing too much privacy, and for their content quality to speak for themselves and also be rewarded. So yeah, that's like a super secret alpha that hasn't been shared anywhere. But yeah, again, shout out to like everyone here. Thank you guys so much for your guys' insights and sharing all these information. Like I personally am also learning a lot, and thank you guys so much for the audience for coming. And yeah, like this has been very informative, so much alpha, and I personally and on behalf of everyone on Sign, we are very excited to see what you guys are doing, and it's so great that we're all here and sharing and talking. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. No, right back at you. And if you guys get that social sentiment analysis points program going, you could definitely have that as a service for other dApps. I think we would be interested in using it. So excellent work rewarding the users for all that stuff. Thank you so much for having us today.
Of course, of course. And I will see you guys on your guys' Discord. Watch out for my Jeopardy style prowess. I don't know. But again, yeah, thank you guys everyone for coming, and hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And if you guys are in Singapore, check out our page. We'll have events, and I'm looking forward to interacting more with you guys. Thank you guys for your time.
Take care, everybody. I want to hear your
All
best
right,
jokes
take
next
care.
time.
Oh,
Bye.
yes, I will have that prepared. Love that you guys had that joke. All right.
Nice.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.